Greetings, beloved. Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Noelle, and here is our twin flame star child, Elisa Rose, who is really into the roses and the flowers. So she may or may not make it through the whole video. She might go with Daddy, my twin flame over there. Y'all, you might be asking, can the dark force energies that are so freaking intense right now keep twin flames separate? I am going to break it down for you. And before I do, I'm going to give this baby to her daddy because she's getting real squirmy. So first of all, you're probably watching this video because right now times are really intense. There's a lot of separation with the quarantine, being locked into our homes, and all the drama is dredging up a lot of separation energy between twin flames and pretty much everybody. So everybody right now is feeling a ton of separation. And what does separate mean? It means to see apart. That's actually the origin of the etymology of the word. And we're all in quarantine, we're seeing apart from our own homes, we're locked down. This is actually a great time to talk about separation because it's very up in the cosmos and in the collective unconscious. But can dark force energy keep us twin flames apart? Can we be psychically attacked? Can we have entities, energies, fears that are so strong that we just can't bust through them? Well, what is darkness? Darkness is the lack of light. That is how dark is defined, a lack of light. And what is a force? So in science, a force is the push or pull of an object with mass that causes it to change velocity, to accelerate. So basically there's this magnetic energy of a lack of light that causes us to see apart. Whew, pretty heady, right? Well, I'm going to tell you a story about my twin flame separation. Now, twin flame separation can happen as one big, there was this one event, or it can happen as many events. And for me, it was a combination. I had one massive twin flame separation with my husband, my twin flame Jack. And it was really intense. We were already engaged to be married. We were really excited to see our lives come together. We were picking out a place for our wedding. We were talking about having children. We were feeling baby spirits coming through. And so we went to a sacred journey. A group of friends got together and put together a medicine journey where we did prayer and we were supporting each other for around 24 hours. And when it got dark, energy got really, really dark. And this dark force energy came through. And we weren't the only ones that felt it. It happened to be actually on like, it was a new moon. And it was one of the nights in the astrology, which we looked at later. It was a new year in Chinese astrology. It was a very dark, intense time for birthing and going into the underworld. And boy, this night we had literally 3 couples come and tell us that we shouldn't be together and that we weren't a right fit. And it was really strange and sad. After this event, I had other people come and tell me that I shouldn't be with this man, my beloved. And I had my own fears and doubts. And that's actually a clue here, is if we have a dark force out here, like someone telling us that this is bad and wrong, we got to look at, well, why am I creating this? So I knew that teaching. I knew about the twin flame here. So I started looking at myself and saying, well, what is going on here? Why am I afraid? I worked on this dark force energy that was inside of me, and I healed and I hired mentors and I meditated and I prayed and I cleansed and I did all this deep work. And I got to that clear place with my beloved, and we came into union, and each day got brighter and brighter. And as we did the work, it was like this spell of millions of years that's being lifted. It was miraculous. It was beautiful. And yet there were still people that were looking at us, judging us, like you can't heal what you guys have. You have problems. You're fighting. We actually weren't fighting anymore. In our own space, we had cultivated this beautiful, deep connection. We had learned how to not argue anymore, but to communicate using nonviolent communication and dialoguing and sharing from our hearts, with a little bit of arguing scattered because our inner children would get lost in the mix. But overall, we were making so much progress, and we were having breakthrough after breakthrough. Some of the friends didn't want to come with us on the ride. They wanted to stay in their darkness. And some of these people ended up getting divorced. Some of them ended up having really intense pain and dysfunction in their lives. And some of them probably did have breakthroughs. But we decided that that community was not right for us. We sent them love and we had a conscious, intentional separation. But it didn't feel right to have people tell us how we should live our lives. We felt uncomfortable with having a space where it was safe for people, felt comfortable to judge and tell us what to do and if we should be together or not. And we said, no, we're not doing that anymore. And after we shared our feelings about this, we noticed that there was really no longer a soul contract to stay together. And so it was actually a perfect impetus for us to go and move. And so we ended up moving to a completely new country, to Bali, Indonesia. And we started creating connections that felt really dear to our hearts and where we had a lot of support for our union. And unfortunately, we had to come back for COVID and quarantine, but Bali, we will be back. And we started to pull in from around the world our tribe and community that does believe in us. So if you look at some of our old videos from the time of our twin flame separation, you'll see a lot of, well, I did delete a lot of these comments, but we had a lot of psychic attacks saying, you're not twin flames. And the energy was so dark. I would say that reading the comments, I would almost want to throw up because it felt like this dark entity that was coming through attacking. And I would say that that's probably what it was. So we can identify the dark. One, if again, dark is the lack of light, where there's an obstruction in the way. So we can feel this attack energy, this dark energy coming. There's a lack of light, and it can make us feel like spinning or something just doesn't feel right. So that's, for me, that was where I really differentiated. Oh, that's like the light of truth saying I'm not meant to be with this person versus this dark energy. Just, ugh. You'll notice the difference of how to find your truth. For us, the truth was revealed through prayer, through doing the work, and really the truth came through of like, we want this. We want it badly enough. And I also wanted to share how I had another dark form of energy that was causing separation in our union in a specific way. Growing up in California, I had a lot of ideas of how I should look. I thought I had to be beautiful like the women I saw on TV in a specific way. I had to have the same shape and size and skin tone, and I had this ideal standard of perfection. And so for many years, I dieted and I did things to my body and most of all to my mind. I would punish myself if I didn't look a certain way or if I thought I didn't look the way I should. It was insanity, it wasn't fun, and it wasn't truly sexy. At the same time, I had this false Barbie blonde ego. You know, I'm 40 now, but imagine in my teens and 20s, I did have this kind of standard of beauty that was somewhat close, being blonde. People would say, oh, you're like a hippie Barbie. And so I had this ego going of I looked beautiful and I was empowered. If I wore the clothes, the makeup, the hair, and the high heels, that I could get, maybe not any man that I wanted, but that I could get me a rich man or I could get this. It was this weird dis-ease in my mind. And I know a lot of my fans out there have struggled with this or still do struggle with this. They say, I'm not good enough to have a man, I don't look good enough, and I have to look this certain way, and they beat themselves up and they judge. But at the same time, I have seen these same women project their stuff on men and say, oh, you know, I'm not really into him. No, I wouldn't go on a date with that guy. He's so not my type, Amanda. And I'm like, well, why? And then really when it comes down to it, sometimes they get real and the demon in them is just as ugly as mine was, where they will say, he's too short for me. I want a tall guy. He's too this, he's too that about his body. And it's exactly what happened to me. So I have this body image shame and self-punishment and perfectionism. And when Jack and I got together, yes, he was tall, and yes, he's a good-looking guy. He's a gorgeous-looking guy. What am I saying? And when I met him, I had this big ego, and I thought I was better looking than him. And I thought that he could have taken better care of his skin. He could have worked out a little bit more, and he could have, I mean, I'm channeling this dark energy, but it comes from Hollywood. It comes from this satanic practice of dredging people of their life force blood, when really I had this divine archangel incarnated into this man, this beautiful, loving being in front of me. So I had this split personality. I had my light that was like, I see Jack, I see his soul, he's amazing. How could I ignore that? He's spiritual, he's loving, he's adventuresome, he's willing to go on a ride with me, we connect. And at the same time, I had this dark energy that was really my high school self coming from the 1980s, like Valley Girl. I want to be really hot and cool and popular. And it was confusing. It was like my angel and my devil on two sides of my shoulder. And so Jack flies in. We were living long distance. He was in Northern California. I was in Southern California. And he flies down for the weekend, gets off the plane to see me. And as he's coming to my car and picking him up at the airport, I go, oh my God, I can't be with this guy. He looks so young. He has the worst haircut and he is not muscular enough, and he's red-haired and he has a red-haired beard. I want a tall, dark, Latin-looking, Italian-looking, like alpha male. That's what I had liked up to that point. And so I go, well, my angel side says you have to go on a weekend date with him. He's flown down to see you. You can't just drive away, leave him at the curb at the airport. And so we go to the San Diego Zoo, and I'm feeling this almost nauseous energy in my gut, because there was the dark force energy. The entity had probably taken over my sacral and my third chakra, feeling good and not feeling good enough in myself. But really, I was like, I'm so much better than him, right? Because there's this duality of where we think we're better than someone else. It's actually the lack thereof, that place in us where we can feel really hurt and wounded. And so we go down to this hippopotamus watching zone. We're like sitting there. It's almost like a theater, and we're watching these hippos swim by, and it's so beautiful and lovely. And all I'm thinking about is how I need to break his heart now. I need to just tell him I'm not into him. And I do. I speak that voice of fear, and at that point it was my truth. And I say, I'm sorry, I'm looking for something different. I'm not feeling a sexual attraction to you, a physical attraction to you. And guess what? His reaction is a perfect mirror of every time I would tell myself that you're not good enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not sexy enough, I don't want to be with you. He reacted in a way of pain that just, it hurt that part of me that is an empath and that is an angel and that feels. And it was very confusing because I wanted to hold him and embrace him and love him and heal him. And I also wanted to kick him to the curb at the same time. And my split personality was just like, what do? I have two options. I either annihilate half of me that wants to love him and kick him to the curb, or I let him into my life deeper and wider, and I let my dark force energy, my ego, get some kind of ass whooping. And it was really, really intense. At the same time, I was involved in an elite, I won't say spiritual community, but it had a little spiritual flavor, but an elite coaching community, an elite entrepreneurial community where everybody looked hot and sexy and young. And I was on the older spectrum in my mid-30s. There were a lot of these young, gorgeous 20-something babes, and I was keeping up, and a lot of these men had lots of money. And I would go to these events with Jack because he actually brought me into these networks, and I would go, these people have nice homes. My guy is 25 and broke. He had debt at that point. Oh, that guy has muscles and he's working out and he's got a huge following on his social media, and mine is growing, and Jack has like 500 people or whatever it was at that time. And I had this big ego, and at the same time, I love Jack and I nourished the relationship with Jack. And it was really, really hard because part of me was dying as a part of me was growing. The part of me of the ego was dying, and the part of me of this loving priestess was growing. And at the same time, the part of me that had the ego, when it started to die, it got, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're drowning or you find someone who's drowning, where you do whatever you can to grab onto something and stay alive. Well, that was me. I was like, no, I don't want to stay with you. I want to end it. And I ended it with Jack multiple times. I would kick him out and then I would call him up later. And I had this like polarity that was coming through. And it was so painful for both of us. And one day, Jack comes to me and he gets in his power. We're on a phone call because we were long distance at that point. He says, look, if you're going to keep on breaking up with me, I'm in my power now. I'm not okay with that. And basically he called out the dark force energy that was in me. He's like, if you want that dark force energy, that's okay. I will love you, but I will leave you. And I set a boundary. And when he did that, I found that is the sexiest thing any man has ever done. And I did have a pattern of really being attracted to men who would reject me. And so that is a little clue here, is when we're in our power and we are willing to let go of someone. That's really sexy if it's for a good reason. And sometimes if it's not for a good reason, sometimes men would reject me for bad reasons that I'd want to go after them. They'd be like, you don't have a great body. And I'd be like, I need you. So dysfunctional. But in Jack's case, it was really a healthy, like, look, I'm calling out your darkness and I have my sword of Archangel Michael and I will cut the cord between us. Whew. And so it was ironic, but all of my own rejection stuff that I was projecting onto Jack got flipped around and my dark energy was like dragoness in my face. And I realized, crap, I don't feel so great about myself. I've hurt this man. I've done all this damage to him, to me. I'm not creating a great reputation for myself with his family members, his friends. I want to be a woman of integrity and I'm teaching about relationships. So I had to really do this deep work and it was humbling and it was embarrassing. And I felt like I went from a PhD to a kindergartner. But through it all, Jack loved me. And most of all, I practiced self-love. And I love myself and I embrace myself. And I was like, whew, Amanda, you are human. It's hard, honey. Love yourself. It is okay. So if you could just give yourself a really big squeeze right now, if you're feeling like your own dark shadow is coming through, or you feel like that shadow is showing up in the way a person is treating you, not wanting to be with you, or projecting things onto you. There's so many mirrors within mirrors that it's easy to get lost. So I know things can be really confusing. And if you are a crazy ass fool like I was and I am to follow the twin flame path, where really I think of twin flame as the perfect reflection of light and dark in that balance point of the heart, loving and accepting all parts of ourselves, of the world, and calling in a partner who mirrors our highest reflection. It's not easy. It's intense. So I want to help you by gifting you, as I always do, a little something juicy, the 22 twin flame signs of reunion. If you're new to my channel, you haven't got this PDF yet, it's an amazing checklist. It's the 22 twin flame signs of reunion. It's a cheat sheet you can use to make sure that you have the right qualities in a potential partnership or the twin flame union that you're in, to strive for, to align with, to tell if you're with a real true twin flame or a false flame, or maybe you're with your twin flame, but you just haven't aligned it like I was for a while in my twin flame separation. So click the link below in the description box and we'll ship that to you instantly. It's super helpful. So light is the solution to dark force energy that causes twin flame separation, and light is consciousness. Scientists have found that in our brains, photons of light are produced when we think. These biophotons of light are shot out and they create new worlds within the old patterns, the ancestral patterns we have. We have DNA, which means we connect back to our families, and we grow up in families and we have memories and we hold them in our minds. And these biophotons can be produced when we meditate, when we pray, when we think positive thoughts. If we don't do this, we can get stuck back in the reptilian brain thinking. The thought patterns that are based on the root chakra of survival, of am I hungry? Do I have enough to live? Food, water, and it can get intertwined with needing money in this greedy way, needing love from this egotistical way. We can counteract this with positive thought, prayer, meditation. We can combat our twin flame codes in our mind. We can shoot more of these light biophotons and activate the higher brain in the neocortex. Darkness can be addictive, especially when we have a pain or a trauma and we deem ourselves as being unlovable. We can hold on to addiction patterns, such as wanting to be approved of by a partner sexually. We want to have that hot guy love us, or to have someone take care of us. We can have codependent patterns, things that bring us out of alignment with true twin flame union, which is the higher vibrational divine love. The darkness can be associated with past traumas, and these traumas can be healed. They can be healed through twin flame love by loving ourselves and allowing our mirror to shine light and love upon us. It can be uncomfortable. It can be scary. It can be like getting naked or taking off a bandage where we have a wound. We need to do this in order to heal, but there's that instinct, that reptilian brain that says, don't look, leave me alone. I'd prefer to, instead of having love and light from a true twin flame with unconditional love, I'd prefer to have a dark demonic energy that I chase after, someone that thinks I'm hot and sexy, that hits me up for sex and then leaves me. And that was something I struggled with during my 20s, was always wanting to have an unattainable man I thought was going to fall in love with me. He'd use me, we'd date for a little bit, and then he'd get what he wanted and he would go. And this happens to so many women, and it can happen in different ways. It can happen in marriages where a man is involved or a woman is involved in a relationship for the looks of it, for the appearance, for the wife arm candy or the husband arm candy. We have been engineered through Disney, through Hollywood, through media, and we've been mind controlled. And it separates us from twin flame love. If we become aware of it, we can see apart, we can see the separation, and we can rise above it and we can unite and say, I'm no longer in agreement to hating myself, to judging myself, and to projecting my judgment and hate onto others. Where do we in our lives sometimes judge other people in their relationships? Like we had friends, Jack and I had friends judging us. You won't be able to make it. We even had family members. Even my own mom said, there's no way you could fix this because blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, Mom, I love you. I've forgiven you. And you've grown and I've grown in our journey. Why can't I do that with Jack? And she is actually a therapist. She went, oh my God, that was my blind spot. And then I got her blessing, and Jack and I had we've had this amazing journey. And here we are 3-4 years later in love and leading a movement of twin flame energy. And it's not perfect. And we have days where we're human, but the love is so strong and it bridges the separation. So the answer, as always, is love, love, love. Love heals all. Amor vincit omnia, which is what we teach at Aphrodite University. So during these times of separation, I know it can be really intense. I know it can be scary, but my message is, as always, that love heals all. Love is the medicine, and we can heal anything in our lives. I can't guarantee that this person is your twin flame, or you can have that one specific person. I know there are a lot of videos on YouTube of how to manifest a specific person, and that is dark witch magic to me. That's how I perceive it. And I tried to go after one specific person, and boy, did it slap me in the butt. And I'm so grateful to not be in that relationship, because I'm in the right relationship for me, one that supports me and that feels like my sacred yes. And I've had so many beautiful signs and synchronicities that have pointed me to being here. But it does take work, and it does take overcoming that addiction to the darkness that gets us back in the Disney programs, the one of the media, the doubt, the fear. But we can slay those demons and we can replace it with true healthy thoughts. I am beautiful. I am love. My twin flame, however they look, whatever race, shape, size, shade, whoever they are, I'm going to love them. I'm going to love my twin flame because they are a mirror of myself, and I love myself. I love you. Thank you for joining me. Learn more about twin flames by clicking the link below in the description box and become part of my tribe. I will send you right away the 22 twin flame signs of reunion, that helpful PDF that has helped thousands of women around the world to align with twin flame energy. I'll see you in the next video. Namaste. Namaste. So you might be wondering, can the dark forces keep twin flames separate? And my answer is obviously, if you work through it, no, and you can have one of these too at a theater near you, folks. So I'm here to tell you, can you see the love tonight? And can you feel the love? Okay.